The hum of the airport terminal was usually a sound I found soothing, a low-frequency vibration of people heading toward new adventures. But today, the hum was replaced by the sharp, rhythmic clicking of expensive heels hitting the polished linoleum. I was sitting at gate B12, nursing a lukewarm latte and staring at my boarding pass. C2A. It was a rare treat. I'm a high school teacher, and first class usually isn't in my vocabulary unless I'm talking about a student's essay. However, after 3 years of saving miles and a stroke of luck with a last-minute upgrade, I was finally going to fly across the country in a seat that didn't require me to tuck my knees into my chin. The boarding call for Group 1 echoed through the speakers. I gathered my carry-on, feeling a genuine sense of excitement. That was when I first saw her. She was standing at the very front of the line, though Group 1 hadn't even finished scanning. She was draped in a beige trench coat that looked like it cost more than my car, and her blonde bob was sprayed into a rigid helmet. She was huffing, checking her diamond-encrusted watch every 30 seconds and casting withering glares at the gate agent. "Excuse me," she barked as I approached the line. "The line starts back there." I blinked, surprised by the hostility. "Oh, I'm in Group 1, I said gently, showing my pass. She didn't look at the pass, she looked at my faded corduroy jacket and my scuffed sneakers, her lip curled. "Right, of course you are." I ignored the jab and boarded the plane. The calm before the storm. Stepping into the first-class cabin felt like entering a different world. The seats were wide, plush, and smelled of leather. I found 2A, stowed my bag, and settled in. I was already imagining the nap I was going to take once we hit cruising altitude. A few minutes later, the beige trench coat marched down the aisle. She stopped at row 2, checked her ticket, and then looked at me. Then she looked at the empty seat next to me, 2B. She sighed loudly, a sound of pure martyrdom, and shoved her designer bag into the overhead bin with unnecessary force. She sat down, but she didn't settle. She fidgeted. She adjusted the armrest. She glared at the pre-flight water the flight attendant offered her as if it were tap water from a garden hose. "Is something wrong?" I asked, trying to be a polite neighbor. She turned to me, her eyes narrowed. "This seat doesn't recline properly. I can feel the mechanism is off, and I specifically requested a window seat, but the system glitched," according to the incompetent girl at the desk. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, opening my book. "At least the legroom is nice." She didn't respond, she just stared at my window. I could feel her gaze burning into the side of my head. "You," she said suddenly, "you're a student, aren't you, or a backpacker?" "I'm a teacher," I replied. "A teacher, right?" She let out a sharp, mocking laugh. "Then you obviously didn't pay for this seat. It was probably a pity upgrade or a mistake. I, on the other hand, am a platinum executive member. I pay thousands of dollars to this airline every month." I kept my voice level. "I earned the miles for this seat, ma'am. I'm looking forward to the flight." "Well, I'm not," she snapped. "I have a migraine coming on and I need the window to lean against. It's a medical necessity. You're young, you can sit in the aisle. Move." It wasn't a request, it was a command. "I'd prefer to keep the seat I was assigned," I said firmly. Her face turned a shade of pink that clashed with her blush. "Do you have any idea who I am? My husband is on the board of 3 major firms. I don't sit in broken seats while some charity case enjoys the view. Switch with me, now." The escalation. I turned back to my book, deciding that silence was the best defense, but she wasn't finished. She pressed the flight attendant call button repeatedly. Ding, ding, ding. A young flight attendant named Sarah appeared, wearing a practiced, professional smile that didn't quite reach her tired eyes. "Yes, ma'am, how can I help you?" "This person is in my seat," the woman lied, pointing a manicured finger at me. Sarah blinked, looking at her tablet. "I'm sorry, my records show Mr. Miller is in 2A and Mrs. Vandermeer is in 2B. "The records are wrong," Mrs. Vandermeer shrieked. The volume was so sudden that several passengers in the rows behind us poked their heads up. "I booked the window, I always book the window. This person bullied his way into the seat before I could get here. He's being aggressive and making me feel unsafe." I felt a surge of adrenaline. "That's completely untrue," I said, my voice shaking slightly. I sat down and she immediately started demanding I move. "Liar," she screamed. She actually stood up, looming over me. He's a thief, he stole my experience, I demand you move him to the back of the plane, put him in economy where he belongs. Sarah looked between us. Ma'am, please lower your voice, you are disturbing the other passengers. If you have a seat preference, I can check if there are other first-class seats available, but I don't want another seat, I want my seat. Mrs. Vandermeer was now attracting the attention of the lead purser, a tall, no-nonsense man named Marcus who walked up the aisle with an air of authority that suggested he had dealt with many Karens in his time. Is there a problem here? Marcus asked. Yes, she yelled, her voice reaching a crescendo. This man is harassing me, he stole my seat, he's been using foul language and he threatened me, I want him off this plane now or I will have all of your jobs. The cabin went silent. Even the people in economy were leaning out into the aisle to see the source of the commotion. The turning point. Marcus looked at me. He saw a man holding a book, sitting quietly with a look of utter bewilderment. Then he looked at Mrs. Vandermeer, who was vibrating with rage, her face contorted into a mask of entitlement. Sir, Marcus said to me, did you threaten this woman? No, I said, I haven't said more than 10 words to her, I just wanted to read my book. He's lying, she wailed. Ask anyone. Oh wait, you can't because everyone is intimidated by him, look at him, he's dangerous. Marcus turned back to her. Ma'am, I'm going to ask you one time to sit down and be quiet so we can finish boarding, we are already behind schedule. I will not sit down, not until this peasant is removed. She then did the one thing you should never do on an airplane. She reached out and tried to grab my arm to pull me out of the seat. I flinched back and Marcus immediately stepped in between us. His demeanor shifted from polite service to federal authority in a heartbeat. Ma'am, Marcus said, his voice low and dangerous. You just initiated physical contact with another passenger. That is a violation of federal law. You need to gather your belongings immediately. Mrs. Vandermeer froze, a smug grin began to spread across her face. Finally, you're taking him away. No ma'am, Marcus said, his eyes cold. I'm taking you away. The reality check. The color drained from her face faster than water down a drain. What? You can't be serious, I'm a platinum member, I have a migraine, I pay your salary. Actually, Marcus said, the safety and security of this cabin are my primary responsibility. You are being disruptive, you are making false accusations, and you have attempted to physically assault a passenger. You are being deplaned. I'm not going anywhere, she shrieked, clutching the armrests of seat 2B. Sarah, Marcus said to the other flight attendant, call airport security. Tell them we have a non-compliant passenger in the first-class cabin. The next 10 minutes were a masterclass in the stages of grief. First came denial, you're joking, this is a prank, where are the cameras? Then came anger, I will sue this airline into the ground, you'll be scrubbing toilets by Monday. Then came bargaining, fine, I'll stay in 2B, I'll even apologize to the teacher, look, I'm sitting, see, I'm quiet. But Marcus wasn't having it. It's too late for that, ma'am. Once the captain is notified of a security risk, there is no staying. Please move or security will assist you. 2 airport police officers appeared at the cabin door. The sight of the uniforms finally broke her. The screaming Karen who had been so loud and powerful just minutes ago suddenly looked very small. She began to cry, not real tears of sadness, but the frustrated, angry tears of someone who had never been told no in their entire life. As she was led up the aisle, she passed a row of passengers who were openly recording the entire event on their phones. I hope you enjoy your window seat, I said quietly as she passed. She turned to glare at me one last time, her mascara running down her face. You ruined my life, she hissed. No, I replied, you just met the consequences of your own behavior. The resolution. The plane door closed shortly after. The seat next to me, 2B, remained empty. Marcus walked back over to me a few minutes later. I am so sorry about that, Mr. Miller. That is not the experience we want for our passengers, especially those in first class. It's okay, I said, finally feeling my heart rate return to normal. I just wanted to read. Well, Marcus smiled, as a thank you for your patience and for not losing your cool, the captain has authorized a little something. Since 2B is empty, feel free to spread out. And the champagne, it's on the house for the duration of the flight. Also, I've put a note in your profile. Your next 3 flights with us will be automatically upgraded to first class, assuming there's space. I couldn't believe it. Thank you, Marcus, truly. As the plane taxied toward the runway, I looked out the window. I saw a police cruiser parked near the terminal and a woman in a beige trench coat standing on the tarmac, surrounded by officers. She was still gesturing wildly, but from this distance, she was silent. I leaned my seat back, it worked perfectly, by the way, and took a sip of the cold champagne Sarah had just brought over. The view from the window was spectacular as we broke through the clouds, the sun setting in a brilliant display of orange and gold. It was a first-class view, earned the right way. And for the first time in my life, I realized that some people spend so much time demanding the best seat in the house that they forget how to be a person worth sitting next to. She wanted a reality check and she got one. As for me, I had a quiet cabin, a great book, and a lot of legroom. It was going to be a very good flight. The lesson was simple, one I often told my students: being important doesn't give you the right to be unkind. Because eventually the world catches up to you, and when it does, it doesn't matter how many miles you've flown, you're still the one standing on the tarmac while everyone else takes off.